Whilst training, you're paid $11.60 per day, 1 year, recruits. Then $12.80. So this bewildered me. I chased up CMPB. I said, well, what are they doing? What marvelous jobs are they holding? Because I get the monthly returns, how many workers retrenched, how many work permits issued. And I know that in the last 18 months, since the retrenchment started, 30,000 workers have been retrenched. 70% women and girls. But I just took this year, January to July. 7,500 round figures retrenched, of which 4,008, nearly 4,009 were women. In those same 7 months, we issued 11,500 work permits, of which 4,004 were for women. Now, so it does not square up. What's happened to these national servicemen? Primary 6 and secondary 2, the highest levels. Many of them were just sitting at home. Very happy state of affairs. They're resting from 2 years strenuous work with the army. I know that driving a 3-ton truck is not child's play. But some of them went out into the reserves in January. 40 or 50 of them are still unemployed. They go in at 18, they finish at 20. You can't have a class 4 license to drive a bus. They only have a class 3. You've got to be 21 before you take a class 4. You get a class 3 for driving a 3-ton truck. Originally, in the second batch, 8 went in. They were asked, whilst practicing to drive a bus and waiting for the age of 21 to get a class 4 license, to sell tickets. They say, paise. You know, they like to have the passengers behind them, not to face each chap sell a ticket. This is a new generation Singaporean. If we were going to make the kind of growth, there'd be no oil crisis, no problems in the West. Well, perhaps we'll put up with this. But I ask parents whose instinctive response to their own hardship when they meet good times is to pamper their children, to remember that we're in for a less good time. It's always comfortable and easy to move into a higher standard of living. But I believe we are lucky if we make, in the next 5 years, and nobody can look beyond 3-5 years. Lucky we make somewhere between 3 to 5, maybe with luck, 6% growth in real terms. I'll give you another illustration. We had some workers doing training in Japan, miniature ball bearings, precision, little round objects. And after 1 month, they said, well, what's this? I'm still doing the same job. So the EDB went out to investigate. Why are they being held back? Well, the answer is simple. This is a precision job and it has to be done to perfection. And they just did not know how important it is that even if you have one out of a group of 30 or 40 ball bearings, one which is not the right size, the wear and tear will be uneven and there'll be not only damages to be paid, worse, the brand will lose its reputation and sales will go down. So it reminded me of an incident I had some 11 years ago when I was touring some third world group of countries. It so happened that there was a Chinese restaurant thousands of miles away from Singapore. This Singapore Chinese had opened a restaurant there, and he invited the whole chartered aircraft to his restaurant for dinner. So I asked him, well, the food wasn't bad. I said, who's cooking? He says, oh, Singapore Chinese cook. I said, what about the locals? Couldn't they cook? He says, he laughed. He said to me, well, you know, it's very difficult. You take the simple dish, Fu Yong Hai, it's an omelette. You add some vegetables, you add some prawns, crab. But you show it to him 3 times, and he says, yes, I know. But he doesn't know. He said, look, watch again. You've got to add this amount of water to the egg so it won't be too hard. Then you've got to have the vegetables sufficiently cooked, but still crisp. Then you must add the right salt and sugar, salt and pepper and sugar and other condiments. He says, I know. It's not edible. It's not, you lose business. Well, we are like that. Says, yes, I know, when in fact you don't know. Now, the growth that we have made has carried us up to a pretty high level compared to what was, not compared to what the Japanese and the Europeans or the Americans have. And to make the next jump is a qualitative change. We made this first run-up by just starting from a low baseline, mopping up the unemployment, doing mostly assembly line operations. Then we moved on to polishing lenses, making theodolites and balancing instruments and so on. Now this year,